Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the second part of my Making Musketeers Good series 2021. This is Joshua's Boosters, and like I said, this is the second part of a series installment of me, actually. So if you did not watch the first installment of the series, I'll just make it pop up somewhere on the screen, and then be sure to check it out before you actually watch this one, because it will make a bit more sense if you do it like that. So yeah, if you did check that out, let's immediately get into the changes I made since the last episode. As you'll see, the Dogmatica cards actually disappeared from my deck list here. I don't necessarily think they are bad, but I just wanted to think, or wanted to try rather, just a more pure approach, see how that works in this format. Mostly because I felt some of the Dogmatica cards just kinda hold the engine back, and while there is a lot of synergy, I don't necessarily think you should definitely play them in the deck. I just really wanted to try this. As you'll see, I swapped them out for some hand traps here, which are Ash, just because it's super versatile, and then Ghost Bell, just because it's also super versatile, to be honest, in this particular format. The Musketeer lineup is just exactly the same as it was before. This is still the same. I did decide to actually put the Lightning Storms in the main deck just because I think there's a lot of back row decks. There's a little bit of a contradiction here because you kind of want your opponent to have back row so you can resolve max for a lot of guys, but at the same time, if you can just Lightning Storm them, and then in particular against Eldritch decks, you can just Death's Needle their resources away anyway, you should be fine. So, and also it's just really good against Drytron. With this card, you're playing like 9 outs here against the Venti's ruler. So yeah. Then all the Musketeer spells and traps are still the same ratio. I'm still playing Reborn. Since I cut the Dogmatic cards, I fitted in the third Poltergeist. This card is really good. So yeah, just a pure list, very similar to what I played at YCS London, actually, in theory anyway. Then the side deck here, this is looking super random, and I'm playing one Lancia, one Scythe. Just because I'm siding in Sanctum here for if my opponent makes me go first, or if I think they will make me go first. Then I'm playing the third Ash and the third Ghost Bell. Basically, I don't think this is optimal in any way, but I wasn't really sure what I should play instead of those, and I thought third copies might just come in handy against more combo-oriented decks. Still playing the Nibiru, still playing the Dark Ruler no more. So like I said, I'm playing Sanctum now, still playing Order, and then I should have played this from the start. I'm playing Red Reboot, which is just the best card in this deck against back row decks. The side deck, or sorry, the actual deck also changed a lot because I'm not playing Nadir Servant and stuff anymore. So I could fit in Dweller here, just I think it might come up in the grind game. I am actually playing Zeus and Nightmare Shark here, just because most of the muskets are level 3, and I figured in some game states it might be really good to just poke with the Nightmare Shark and then rank up into the Zeus for disruption, because I mean this card's just absolutely insane. Still playing the Utopia stuff here. This is the same. Oh, and right, I decided to add in Trisbana. I think this should have also been in the first list. This card's just super good against back row decks, because if you resolve max against them, and you can usually just go into Trisbana and then link of your last Musketeer into the max, since it's a link 1 to trigger Trisbana, so that's really good. So yeah, those are the changes again for the deck. I guess we'll just go and see how the actual match for this one turned out. So yeah, guys, before I want to get into this match, I actually really want to shout out my opponent here, which is Raphael GE. Actually, right when we started playing the match, he said he was a big fan of me, and he was subscribed to the channel. So I think that's really fun. I had a really good time playing him. We were just like talking in the chat and stuff about Yu-Gi-Oh! Basically, and he was just a really pleasant and nice opponent. You'll also see he's actually playing one of my my favorite decks in a minute. So yeah, huge shout out to this guy. I also asked him if it was okay to put him in the video. So yeah. Anyway, let's just get right into the match. I won the rock paper scissors here, so I elected to go second, of course. And let's just see how that went. So yeah, drawing the hand here. You'll see this hand is yeah, I would say it's pretty good. We have 3 Musketeers here, so we have Starfire, Caspar, and Dog. Starfire and Caspar are of course the best starters in the deck. And then we have actually 2 ways to trigger them, so that will be really good on my turn. We have Upstart and Pot of Desires, which is really good, of course, since, you know, if everything works out, we can go Starfire, trigger Starfire with one of these, and then we can also trigger the Musketeer. We summon off Starfire, which will most likely be Caspar, of course, with the other one. Yeah, this hand is looking pretty good. Even if they put up like some kind of negate board, we can potentially first go Desires to hope to draw into some disruption cards like Cross Domination. So yeah, but you're gonna see that's not exactly what's gonna happen. So he's gonna start off with Terraforming, and he's actually gonna add Mystic Mine. So at this point I was thinking like, okay, this might actually be like Mystic Mine Burn or some other Mystic Mine variant, which is basically an auto win matchup for a Musketeer because of cards like Last Stand and the trap that destroys a face of spell and trap, Desperado. Yeah, I was feeling already pretty good, but then he actually goes and goes Area 0, Summon Ray, and he does the combo for Sky Striker, which is like where you go Area 0, target Ray, and then tribute off Ray. So you don't actually lose a card, but you can add a card of Area 0 if you hit a Sky Striker card, so of course that's fine. He's gonna just go straight to Shizuku here, of course, and he is actually gonna pick up, I think it's Anchor, yep. He shows 3 Sky Strike cards, he adds the Anchor. So at this point I know he has Anchor, and he's just gonna set 2 and then resolve Shizuku in the end phase, getting multi-roll. So we know he has Mystic Mine and multi-roll in hand. Potentially he has 1 hand trap. Oh, I spoiled it for you guys, but he does have the Ash. And then he has 2 sets here, one of which I know is Anchor, and then very likely the other might also be something like an Anchor or a Shark Cannon. So yeah, we're actually gonna draw Dancing Needle here, which is another way to trigger my Musketeers. And then also it's really, really good against this matchup because it's will disable Ray floating when you out the Link monster, and it will also just get rid of the resources and make it really hard for them to get access to the effects you get from the Sky Striker spells when you have 3 spells in the graveyard. Like I said, I'm just gonna go for the line I described earlier. If they at least somehow disrupts both the Starfire and the Max, I still have the Caspar follow-up for next turn, and he will most likely not be able to OTK me in the current game state anyway. Which I really like about playing the Sky Striker matchup. So yeah, what I'm gonna do here is I'm actually gonna start off with Desires because I figure if he has Ash, it's actually fine if he Ashes the Desires because then he has to anchor my Starfire basically, and then after that I can still go Max to get access to some more Musketeers or spells and traps if I would decide to do so. So yeah, I think this plays pretty heads up. And he is gonna Ash Desires here, which, like I said, that's absolutely fine. Now I'm gonna trigger the Starfire, which he actually allows. He decides not to anchor, probably because he wants to keep the anchor for the Max. So yeah, I'm gonna summon the Caspar here. Okay, so in my last video, actually, someone commented why I kept summoning the Musketeers in zones that were not the zones where my opponent plays their spells and traps, but that's because I kind of always want to play around impermanence, even though it's not prevalent in the format, especially with a hand like this, where I can just manually trigger my Musketeers without having to rely on my opponents. I'd rather just not risk losing super hard to impermanence if I decide to go like Upstart Goblin and then he would impermanence in that zone. I wouldn't get to draw and I wouldn't be able to trigger my Musketeer, so that's just really annoying. So that's why I do that. I'm gonna bring out Caspar, like I said, because I can trigger with the Upstart. Upstart's of course fine. I'm gonna draw another Caspar, which doesn't really help here. Actually, it's even kind of annoying because it means I won't be able to summon Caspar of Max later. I'm gonna trigger the Caspar here. And yeah, basically he's forced to anchor here, right? Because I could either add Desperado or Last Stand here, and the thing is, both would basically prevent their anchor on Max. What a really cool play you might not know is, if you actually, specifically against Sky Striker, you can go, I could have added Desperado here, then I could have summoned Max. trigger max, I wouldn't have to worry about Nibiru since I know both the cards in his hand, multi-roll and Mystic Mine. And then when he anchors my max, I could actually Desperado on the Caspar, or sorry, on the max. And then since it's no longer on the field, anchor can't negate it, and I can just summon 3 guys from my deck. Where if I got, I would add less stand. I would actually destroy the Widow Anchor before max would resolve. So I could only summon 2 guys, which is still really strong, obviously. But that's a really cool play you can do. So yeah, he's basically forced to anchor here, which is obvious. And then I'm gonna link off the Starfire here into max to hope to get to summon 2 guys, which is actually which resolve. I'm getting Kid Brave and Dog here. I can't, like, I could have gone a Starfire, I guess, but I just rather have that one still in the deck. And Kid Brave, I mean, he is basically the worst one, right? Actually, in this game state, particular game state, he's alright because I could have gone Dancing Needle, banish his stuff, and then discard a Musketeer to draw 2 cards, which would have been kind of good. But I think I decided to play it safe, if I remember it correctly. So the summons are fine, and I'm just gonna link them up into Phoenix. Just like I said, it's just kind of annoying if I decide to go Dancing Needle, and then he anchors my Kid Brave, I lose a card from my hand. And I also don't have access to the Dancing Needle when I want it anymore, so that's why I decided to go for that play. But then, to be fair, like, maybe it would have been better to do the Kid Brave play, since the chance of his last set being another anchor is actually kind of unlikely since he let my max resolve. So, you know, you could argue that. I must say, by the way, in this match, it wasn't actually... I think, like, in game 1 I played fine, but as you'll see, like, in the next game, there's actually a lot of things I could have done differently, but we'll talk about that when we get there, of course. So I'm just gonna Phoenix. He's gonna chain Eagle Boost. He only has 2 spells, so I can still out the Shizuku. And I'm gonna net to draw, which is Desperado, which is really good here. Then I'm gonna Dancing Needle, just because I want to get rid of the Ray, since in this game state I can just run over the Shizuku. He doesn't have Ray access anymore, and as you'll see, I'm gonna get rid of the Area 0, so he can't do the multi-roll Area 0 play. So yeah, I'm just gonna attack with the Phoenix, and then attack with the Max. And then in main phase 2, I'm actually gonna Unicorn the Area 0 away. So basically, I know both his cards, which are Mystic Mine and Multi-Roll, and if he Mystic Mines me, that's absolutely fine. He can do that if he wants to, because I have to Desperado to out it anyway, which I can do just do in the end phase to trigger Caspar, and at that point I would just be in a really good position. And Multi-Roll at this point doesn't really do anything unless he top decks a Sky Striker monster, and in particular Ray would be kind of annoying here since it can dodge the Desperado actually. But Rose would be fine, I could just pop it. So yeah, we'll see. He's gonna draw. I think he's gonna, yeah, he's gonna Mystic Mine me, which is fine. And then he does actually top deck the, what's it called, the Rose here. Which I'm gonna allow. The thing is, like, what is kind of annoying about the Rose, or the monster top deck here, which is literally, like, the best top deck he could have aside from Ray, is that if I Desperado on his Rose now, that means I won't be able to trigger the Caspar since the Mystic Mine is still on the field. So that's a little bit annoying. So I've decided to just keep the Desperado, I think. Or, oh right, that's the play I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna, when he attacks me, I'm gonna pop the Mystic Mine, so my Caspar is live. And then I'm gonna actually add the last stand to prevent any card he would potentially add of Kagari, or to prevent the multi-roll. So that's fine. He goes for Afterburner here, which is actually like a slight oversight. Maybe it would have been better in this situation to actually get cross domination, because if he adds the, what's it called, the Widow Anchor at the end phase, that's most likely fine, since I have another Musketeer anyway. So I could go into max anyway. But yeah, you'll see he's gonna Kagari for the Afterburner, that's fine. Then he's actually gonna first activate the multi-roll, and at this point, let's see, yeah, I am actually gonna negate that. Just because He can afterburn me now. And then I still have the Musketeer for the next turn. I do think, like, this particular turn I could have... It would have been probably better to get the cross-domination, like I said. Because that means I could have cross-dominated the Hayate. And then... Kagari wouldn't have been able to get anything, actually. And then I would have just have to worry about the Shark or the Widow Anchor he would set in the end phase with Shizuku. And then it would make my max on the next turn significantly stronger, actually. But yeah. And also, I actually kind of forgot about the fact he could get Rose back if he destroyed Unicorn, which was a little bit of an oversight. That's why the cross domination plays most likely better. Now he's negating my Caspar, which is whatever, since he's gonna banish it anyway. So yeah, at this point, like, he won't have any disrupts in my turn, and I know I have a Musketeer, so that's pretty good. You'll see why that's gonna work out. And he is just gonna add Hornet Jones, just in case I get rid of his Shizuku there. I'm actually gonna top deck Desperado here, which is a really good top deck. Because it is gonna allow me to grind here, because with the Desperado I can actually out the Shizuku, and as you'll see, he does not have access to Ray. So that means with the Dock I'm gonna be able to get back less than, I think, in the graveyard to prevent his Hornet Drones. And then in my end phase, Caspar is actually gonna return from the Zeke. So that means he has to top deck another Sky Striker monster again to actually get back into the game. But this is where you're gonna witness one of the weaknesses from Musketeer, basically. So yeah, like I said, that's gonna happen. He's gonna top deck something here. Let's see what it is. Area 0, right? Which basically a dead top deck, right? Because he could potentially go like set the Hornet Jones and then activate Area 0, but at that point I would just activate the Area 0, and since the activation is negated, it won't trigger, and then it just has a set Hornet Drones, and I could trigger either my Caspar or my Dock to play around that. So I think what he's gonna do here is just pass turn, which is I definitely agree with, because there's no line of plays that beats what I have. I'm gonna top deck Azure, which is kind of good, I suppose, but you'll see, like, Musketeer just really struggles in doing a lot of damage. In finishing up the game, basically, which is what the Dogmatica cards help with. So yeah, that's why I think there is some merits to playing Dogmatica. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna swing with just the Dog and not put the Caspar to attack, since if I put it to attack, like a top deck Ray would actually out my field, which I really don't want. And this way it doesn't, like, the order of turns it would take for me to game him actually doesn't change. Fun fact, I was actually considering normal summoning Ash here and then overlaying into Nightmare so I can go into Zeus. Just to put him on a little bit more of a clock. But I opted against it anyway, since I figured, like, with this my grind game would just be stronger. So yeah. And now he's gonna do the Hornet Jones play, which I'm gonna negate. Put it under Dock and get Desperado, which will be allow me to trigger Caspar later, and then basically play the Hornet Jones to bait my my last step, because he wants to resolve the desires. But of course I top deck the Ash last turn, so pretty fortunate for me. And then he just has the field spell, so he's gonna be forced to pass again. Now at this point, since I top deck Dancing Needle, I can freely trigger Caspar actually. So at this point I think I feel pretty safe putting him to attack position. Oh right, I'm just gonna do Dancing Needle to trigger Caspar anyway to put to add a Musketeer. Right. Yeah, to put him on an actual clock and still keep the Caspar in defense. So yeah, I definitely agree with that play. And then you'll see here, he's actually gonna Widow Anchor on my Dock here. And I'm like, okay, sure, what do you want to accomplish with that? Like, possibly it's really hard, right? Because I think it's really hard for him at this point to win the match anyway. But I think it would have been probably slightly better to just field spell on the set Anchor and see if you could get to Ray. Because as you see here, he's gonna take over my Dock, which is fine. Then he's gonna activate the field spell, and before he can activate the effect, I'm actually gonna Desperado my own Dock, so he won't be able to activate his field spells, left with no cards, and that basically seals the game, as you'll see in a moment. Yeah, so at this point he was like, yeah, I had to try it, but obviously I'm pretty familiar with the Sky Striker deck since I played it for like a year straight, so yeah. That was the first game. Like I said, basically on my second turn, I probably could have sequenced it a little bit better, but I don't know, like it was pretty hard anyway, and it did end, it did turn out okay, but maybe it could have been sequenced a little bit better with the Desperado, like I said. Okay, so game 2, he's actually gonna force me to start since he is playing going second Sky Striker, and he is like sort of familiar with the Musketeer deck, but not entirely, which he told me in the chat later. As you'll see, my hand's actually insane. I have Lightning Storm, Monster Reborn, Kid Brave, Last Stand, and Imperial Order. And the thing is here, what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna pass the turn right away. I actually thought about it a little bit since I did have the order, and I was like, okay, I can maybe go like summon Kid Brave, set the order, and then I can protect the order from spell and trap destruction with the Last Stand, and then maybe I can just shut him out of the game anyway, but that actually doesn't work if he gets access to a Sky Striker monster. So, because like if he got access to Ray, he could have potentially outed my my Kid Brave, and then I would have been left with the order and the Last Stand, and Monster Reborn and Lightning Storm, which would both be unplayable or dead since I had the order phase up. And I also now basically that's the reasoning. Basically, I decided to just pass a turn since Sky Striker can't OTK me anyway, and then I will be able to, if I want to, Lightning Storm his back row, and then hopefully make a field that's strong enough with like multiple Musketeers, Last Stand, and order where you just can't beat it anymore. So as you'll see, I'm actually gonna think for quite a while here, and then eventually I decide to pass. He is actually opening Ray again, so it's pretty good. He does play around Gamma here by not being greedy by and attacking and then going into Ayates, so that I think is pretty good. So yeah, he's gonna go Gary, get multi-roll here. Activate multi-roll, activate field spell. Then he's gonna try to plus, which he does. He adds rows with the field spell, because he has access to another Sky Striker monster anyway by going multi-roll on the field spell. So yeah, definitely agree with that. He's gonna bring out another Ray, link it to Shizuku, Desires. So pretty good hand on his part for sure. And then sadly he doesn't actually set anything. I'm actually gonna show you his hand at this point. So yeah, his hand is actually double Mystic Mine, another Desires, the rows we know, Ash, and Widow Anchor. So he could have set the Anchor here, but I think he's really just playing around Lightning Storm, which he told me later. And then these cards in his hands are basically just, they don't do anything, right? Since I don't control any monster, and the Desires is just, you don't really want to Desires twice. So the only form of protection he's gonna have here is Ash, if I remember correctly, because he won't be setting. Yeah, he's gonna add the Afterburn to get rid of my Musketeer next turn, basically. And then he's gonna discard Pot of Desires, since he has 7 cards in hand. So what's actually gonna happen here is I'm gonna misplay. So I do draw Starfire here, but I already had figured out the entire Kid Brave line in my mind, basically. But it definitely would have been better to just go for Starfire, because what I could have done is I could have gone Starfire, Monster Reborn on his Ray, trigger the Starfire, he would most likely Ash. And then I could go into Max and resolve Max for 2. Which would have been really good, because after that I could have gone Order, Last Stand, and then he just wouldn't have been able to beat my field, ever. But I was like, I had the Kid Brave line in my head since the last turn, so I really kind of went for it without thinking too much, so that's really stupid. Definitely shouldn't have done that, as you'll see. Yeah, I'm gonna go Kid Brave and just link it to Max, and this way I of course just lose to a single Ash, basically. So if I did the previous play, I basically would have just gotten to a game stage where it would have been impossible for him to get come back through like 3 Musketeers, Last Stand, Imperial Order, and this way. Yeah, I'm just left with nothing. I'm just left with the Order and the Last Stand. And then it's especially annoying since I can't even play around something like Cosmic Cyclone if he plays out correctly here, because he can go attack with the, or I guess I could, right? Yeah, I mean, I guess I could, because he could go attack max, then I could just flip order, and then if he would cycle, I could less stand. But even in that situation, I'm left with just the one Starfire and 2 spells I can't activate, so that's really, really annoying. The good thing about this is, though, like, I'm basically, if I flip the order early on in this turn, he's forced to out it, right? And if he does out it, my Monster Reborn and my Lightning Storm will both be live. So yeah, but this, you'll see, this is gonna force me into a little bit of an awkward position, because I think he has 3 spells in his graveyard. Oh, he has 2, but like he will have 3 after activating the Afterburner, and that means if I go order, no. Actually, let's just watch what happens. That's probably a little bit better than just talking about it. He's gonna flip a field spell, link to Ayate, and then he's actually gonna attack me directly, so he doesn't force me to activate the order here, which is really good for me. I think it would have been definitely correct to attack Max here with the Hayate, because this all makes it slightly easier for me. Now he does have 3 spells in the graveyard, and the thing here is, of course, I'm gonna chain order to the Afterburn since I want to keep my last stand live to potentially protect the order from Cyclone here. But the thing is, I know he has Rose, and he can potentially, even if he has Widow Anchor, which we know he does. I mean, like, I didn't know he had it, but we can see he has it. He can go just chain it, take my max, and then make Unicorn to pop my order. Then he can go Field Spell, get rid of his Phoenix, Nightmare Phoenix, and just normal summon the Rose, and then that way, that's pretty rough for me. But I think he doesn't actually play the Phoenix, which makes this all slightly better for me. He does opt to take my guy, which I think is incorrect, probably. And then he's gonna go Kagari, which is fine. And then he's gonna summon the Rose actually of that, which that's all fine. And then he's gonna link into Zeke. At this point I was like, oh, why are you doing this? But apparently he's not playing either Unicorn or Nightmare Phoenix, so he's actually gonna go into Ningirsu here, which I think is in his extra deck, because Ezra the Dragoon out, and he's actually gonna yeah, get rid of my order. So yeah, but the thing is, I'm still in a pretty good position here, right? Because I can Lightning Storm all of his back row, and then I can summon Starfire, Monster Reborn, on Kid Brave to trigger Starfire, so yeah. I also top deck Cyclone, which is good for the follow-up. As you'll see here, I'm actually gonna play this turn incorrectly as well, which is a little bit like, the thing is, for this entire turn I had in my mind that if I would pop the Dingirsu, he would actually get his Sky Striker monster back, which is actually, it's not true. Like, this thing is not called Ningirsu the Sky Striker Warrior, right? So Ray won't trigger, and Rose only triggers if a card in my extra deck monster zone is destroyed. So you'll see I'm gonna play this a bit weirdly, but yeah, we'll get to that. At this point I'm just gonna do the play I mentioned before. Summon the Kid Brave, and then he is gonna Ash my Starfire, which is fair enough. Starfire at this point is, I think, a little bit more threatening than Max would be. But I am gonna link the Kid Brave into Max here to add a spell trap. And then what I could have done here, which would have been so much better, is I could have just run over the World Chalice Warrior here, and then he would just and then set Cyclone to trigger my Starfire if I wanted to. No, wait, that's not actually true. Regardless, I think it would have been better to just run over the Ningirsu, because this way he can opt to like bait my cross domination by activating the effect, and then I'm forced to chain it, of course. Am I? Yeah, I am, because he could go like set a card, then he could send one of my muskets and then attack into the other, which would of course force my cross domination on the first one, which would be kind of okay, I guess, since it would trigger Starfire. But I think the other play, I'm not sure actually. Whew. So like sometimes playing this deck's actually kind of hard. Like even if I'm just looking at all these replays, it's kind of hard to actually pinpoint what the perfect play would be. But I'm just gonna go a little bit faster now. So yeah, he's just reading my cross domination here. Then he's gonna activate Mystic Mine, which I'm actually gonna decide to negate, since if I don't, basically because it will allow me to trigger Starfire, right? And then, right, I can bring out this guy. Then he's gonna Mystic Mine me again, which I don't have out for this time, so it wouldn't probably be slightly bad to set a Cyclone here, because I knew he was playing Mystic Mine, right? But yeah. And then he's just gonna set one, attack into the defense position one, which is smart, because it's gonna force my cross domination here. So I get to give my Caspar, which I wouldn't be able to trigger anyway. But then, of course, I have Cyclone here, which I'm gonna destroy his mine. He's gonna actually negate Caspar here by chaining the what's it called, the droplet, since Caspar could get cross domination anyway. But you're gonna see here. Alright, I'm gonna go into another max at Desperado. Then I'm gonna just Desperado pop his Ningirsu, which is gonna trigger my Starfire. And then at this point I can just link all these off into my boy Access Code Talker, and then the Wild type top deck is gonna be enough for a game. Yeah, pretty cool replay. I think pretty lucky I got this matchup, to be honest, because this matchup is just really favorable for Musketeers. It was really fun to play though, and like you guys could have seen, there's just a lot to think about in matchups like this, and even now I'm not entirely sure what the perfect line of play would have been. So I think that makes it pretty interesting. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I'm probably gonna do this series for at least until the end of January. Probably what's it called? I'm gonna play Eltic Musketeer as well, but I think probably in the next one I'm gonna play Pure again and see what we run into. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you guys in the next one.